All right, we want to return now to our top story, the flurry of executive orders taken by President Trump that directly impact the military. The administration is moving to gut diversity programs and set up a potential ban on transgender service members. The newly confirmed Defense Secretary, that's Pete Hegseth, says there are more executive orders coming. To speak about all of this, let's bring in CBS News senior White House and political correspondent Ed O'Keefe for more. Ed, help us understand why the White House deems these actions necessary now.
Well, the president campaigned on a vow to reinstate this ban on transgender troops. And what this new one appears to do, Errol, is go further than one he'd put in place during Trump 1.0 by openly suggesting in the text of the order that there may be questions about the physical and mental fitness of transgender troops to serve in certain military combat roles. We'll see whether this one faces any legal challenges, but what he's asking the Pentagon to do is come up quickly with plans to essentially shove out most of these transgender troops. We could be talking about thousands. There's no real reliable number, but it's always put in the four figures. And again, this happened back in 2017. It was undone by President Biden, Trump putting it back in place, but now being a little more explicit in suggesting that they need to go. Some others quickly on ending diversity, equity, inclusion programs across the Pentagon, suggesting that the Defense Department is focused too much on issues like that instead of war fighting, and then calls for the U.S. to develop its own Iron Dome system that would essentially protect the entire United States, similar to how Israel is protected by that air defense system that has successfully kept out most missiles fired into the country by Iranians, Yemeni Houthis, and others over the past several years.
And what's interesting, Ed, as someone who also covered the first Trump administration, is this time around, President Trump is coming in with a bit more force and speed in readdressing some of the things he tried to do during his first term. The CDC has been ordered to stop working with the WHO immediately instead of a slow withdrawal. What's behind that move from the White House? And what do you make of the differences this time around compared to the first?
And here again, the president ordering essentially a stoppage that could pick up again in some way in the coming months. But CDC personnel who work with the World Health Organization being told not to come into the office, to stand by for pending instructions, which could be the sign that these people will be eventually laid off, if not outright fired. And all U.S. government personnel who work with the World Health Organization are being recalled and potentially reassigned. Look, this is in part because he has suggested that the World Health Organization missed the COVID-19 threat, that the United States gives too much money to an organization that other countries should be paying more into, and just doesn't believe that the United States should be as directly involved in it as it is. But this could put a host of public health issues at risk, including some concerns recently about flu. There's another outbreak of a disease called Marburg in Tanzania that the WHO and CDC were working on. You know, as we recall from COVID-19 and from other flu outbreaks in recent years, something that starts in one corner of the country has a way of quickly spreading. The idea was to have the CDC and WHO officials working closely together. As for the fact that he's doing this faster and a little more aggressively, it's because he remembers, or he's learned about the full scope of presidential power, or the idea that some of it at least should be tested in federal court. And the belief among those working with the president, especially over the Office of Management and Budget behind the cameras here, that runs all this policy, is that now that there is a more conservative-leaning federal court system, thanks to the hundreds of judges he put in place over the first administration, the belief is that ultimately they may rule to expand presidential power, allowing him to do things like firing federal employees at will, making changes in how government money is handed out, and all the other orders that he's put in place.
This is a more powerful President Trump. Ed O'Keefe, we appreciate your insight this morning. Thanks so much.
Take care.